There we go. Hopefully I can see the chat now. So this is a solder party, and I'm broadcasting in portrait to flex on the haters. Have our lovely MikeMike circuit board just came in. Gonna get a couple of these put together, some different connectors, and then we'll have some lovely stuff, I guess. I don't know. Kind of forgot where I was going with that. The macros. This is a lot more low profile than what I've got right now. I'm pretty sure I can see the chat in this mode. That's actually why I'm doing portrait, not just to be obtuse, to be elongated. So, let's see. I have these. I put together two MikeMikes. One with this lovely Pro Micro that has a kind of a weird footprint. See, these are both the same Pro Micros, but one's larger and has the vastly superior USB mini connector. So I'm going to do this slowly so I don't screw it up live, because that would just be funny. Let's do some of these blues. I found that running the macro pad with blues makes a lot of sense because it's easy to tell how many times you click it. There's a lot of good feedback. But do I have enough blues? That's the question. I thought I had some extras. These reds and these reds. I'm pretty sure I left the blues somewhere else. I was gonna solder this guy. Which is kind of a interesting layout I've been messing around with. Has a lot of thumb positions. But I realized I didn't place the diodes on this. This actually has an error on it that took place during the manufacturing process, which I must correct. Maybe that'll be worth doing right now. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to show this to you. There we go. One of these copper traces was damaged. Yeah, I don't think that's the right way to do that. Oh well. I'll figure it out another time. So, always remember to water your soldering iron. If you don't water it, it doesn't grow. Remember that. It's a pro tip. I also don't want to solder myself in a corner, because this is a bit of a sandwich design as the PCBs sit on top. Just falls through here. Yeah. So switches are going to be hanging out up here. And then our controller board, there you go, you can see that. Controller board's going to be on the bottom. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of contact for that, so that's not too bad. But these Pro Micros and their terrible connectors, they're just always snapping off. They're always causing problems. Hence the vastly superior USB mini connector. But still just get it mounted. So let's see what we can do. This is actually one of the extremely useful 3D print It's a nice locking vise. As long as I can actually lock. Before that, I just used this, which is also very useful, but not quite as good. It's just a piece of cardboard with some clothespins hot glued to it, and that's half a clothespin. So you can get stuff standing up and laying down and held sideways. Very useful soldering helper. It's important to have kind of this surface area here, because then you can put your hand on it and kind of hold things still while you're working on them. Makes things a lot easier. So let's solder on our headers to our Pro Micro here. And hopefully not screw it up. This is actually one of those things where you want to get the spacing right, so I'm actually going to use these female headers. Or I'll just drop them onto the ground, who knows. There we go. No, we don't even need that. Very good. Spaced properly. Could use a little bit of friction though. What is it with messy desks? By that I of course mean, why are they so awesome? Where's my thing? Oh well, it's not that important. Alright. This is my lovely new Hakko soldering iron. It cost more than $15. That's right. I know you're impressed. I did so much professional work with a there we go, an original Hakko. I think it's called a Hakko Blue. It was like just a generic one setting soldering iron that was $15 or something like that. They still sell them actually. They're nice little soldering irons. I used it for just about everything. Well, obviously I used it for just about everything. It was all that I had. But it was all I needed for a long time. Yeah. But it finally died, and it was about time to, actually be professional. Messy desks. Being professional is overrated. There we go. Also got these header pins on MikeMike, which is pretty neat. I expect to be able to do fancy things with it, especially like getting the serial connection going. I'm curious to know if I can connect it to one device and then connect to the serial port from another device and program it from there. Sometimes you only have access to a box and you can't actually install stuff on it. But the cool thing about MikeMike is it registers as a regular USB HID keyboard and mouse. So you don't even have to worry about it. Ew. Well, the pin's going to be all messed up. There we go. I don't know if we have any more of these. My switch supply is dwindling. No, that's it. That's enough. And eventually I'm going to have to do some desoldering. Look at all those nice vintage blacks. These are actually not that bad to desolder. Just you get a lot of practice. It's a Cherry, what is it? 3100 or something like that. G80 3000, I think. I don't know. The keyboard company sells them occasionally. That is the absolute cheapest way to get switches. And if you're someone like me who makes a lot of keyboards and messes around with a lot of designs, just having cheap switches is very nice. Get bits and pieces everywhere. They don't break things. Goodness. Ah. How about this? Long Cat key. Rip Long Cat. He is survived by his brother, Tacnol. I think that's how you pronounce it. Right. Let's just do some actual soldering. So, I don't know if I want the big solder or the little solder. I might have used up my spool of the smaller diameter. Or it might just be buried under some of this stuff. I don't know. It's likely that it's just... And I'm pushing buttons here. I'm pretty sure I'm doing something. Okay. I also don't know if I can view chat on this, because last time I just talked to myself for a long time, and people were chatting, and I couldn't see it. So I'm pretty sure I can see it now. That's why I'm doing portrait mode. Hopefully. Because if it doesn't view the chat, then I'm just doing it for no reason whatsoever. And portrait mode that's cardinal sin here. Alright, forget it. I'm just going to open the new one. Alright. So pretty sure this is the right diameter. Hopefully I ordered the right diameter. There's too many keyboards to build. I also have a custom I need to test. Lots of fun stuff to do. Alright, good enough. So, here's our Pro Micro. We're going to be installing it upside down. So we've got our header pins mounted inverted, because this is going to go, whoops, up underneath MikeMike. So switches mount on top, and then the PCB will mount, or the board will mount on the bottom. I'll figure out feet or something on the other side. But the first step is getting ourselves soldered here. Yeah, how far is that going to stick out? I always want to have some kind of shielding for the cable, because whenever the cable comes out of these Pro Micros, it's just waiting to be broken off. That's why these, if you haven't already gotten into these, they're larger than Pro Micros, so the footprint doesn't quite fit, so you have to adjust it a little bit, but totally worth it to get that nice mini connector rather than the micro. Like even just this one, as it stands, I just took it out of the anti-static bag, and you can already see the plug is mounted at an off angle. You just know it's just gonna break. It's terrible. And then you get all the header pins soldered, and then you're like, all right, cool. And then it breaks off, and you're like, okay, I have to desolder everything. And desoldering those things is the opposite of a fun time. Very, very the opposite. Need that. Alright, well, I don't even care. I'm just going to start soldering. I have some airflow going on up here, so I shouldn't be too brain damaged. More than I already am. So whenever you do these header pins, I like to do one pin only, and then check alignment. And the best way to do that is to actually mount it in your where you're going to mount it. So this looks fine. So the other thing to note is if this gets mounted on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, there's not enough room for a plug there. So we're going to have to plan ahead a little bit and fit a plug onto the end of it so that we have some room. So our mount point, when we solder it, needs to be not right up against it. It needs to be like this. So there's a little bit of space there. We just need to make sure that we have room for the cable to come out. If it were me, I would probably hot glue the bottom of that just to keep it in place. This Pro Micro connectors just, they give me the willies. All right. This is actually a complete 3D print. A very, very good 3D print. Let's go like this. And a lot of the 3D prints are just kind of like toys or things that you wouldn't take very seriously, but this one is really something. Probably the most popular vice on Thingiverse, Machine Vice. Well, this is kind of funny. I have a chisel tip, and it fits right between the two pins, the two header pins, so I'm just sticking it between the two and flooding it, and then pulling out. Now I jinxed it. I got a bridge. Bridges are no problem. Now I'm going to visually inspect it because I guess I'll be able to tell if I screwed up before, because I can't really do anything about it now because I just soldered all of these connections. I gotta be careful what I whistle. I don't want to get copy struck. There we go. Looks good, looks good. Using good tools is it's a joy. Really simplifies things. Cheap soldering irons are fine, but they're not always, I don't know, they're just not always. This keeps flashing and I'm not sure if I've got, there we go. See, I can kind of see a message, but it's just not showing up. Ah, there we go. Hey Max R, DIY in the ghetto, yeah. Keyboard's coming along all right. This is the MikeMike macro tool. So it's set up to record mouse movements and key strokes, and it's live recordable, so you don't have to program it every time. You can just use a menu system that's actually built into a serial terminal to set it up. I think I just realized that this should have gone the other way around. This is why we're doing this. We're learning on the fly. We're doing it live. So these switches need to be soldered, and then I think I'll put header pins in. Yeah, I have to set the depth here first. Okay. Okay. We got this. This is fine. Just leave some room. This still needs to be soldered into place, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to try to, tomorrow morning, get up and have some, do a stream of MikeMike as it currently stands, because now we'll actually have some solid hardware instead of that prototype I had. But the idea is basically that you can record or set up a set of instructions for mouse movements or keyboard button presses or holding down keyboard buttons, and then play them back with the press of a button. The mouse movement was a very clever bit of code, if I do say so myself, because it had you have to deal with the mouse acceleration because you're not controlling it live, you're playing it back at full speed. So the computer's concerned, you just move the mouse a whole lot. Very fast. So you get maximum acceleration pretty much. So it throws off where the mouse winds up when it actually plays back. Little fluxy, but not bad. Flux is always, I don't know, man. Flux just does stuff sometimes. And sometimes it's no problem at all. I don't get it. I don't like it. But what's on here is on the bottom, so if I have to scrape it off, I can scrape it off from there. So we've got our blues. And this is, I'm sorry, this is just, like, I'm getting pretty good at this whole circuit board making thing. Lights. And this just looks too good. Got all my zones defined. Trying out some different corners. I've got a little key ring hole here. So it comes out looking like a little 6-key macro pad. And technically you can program it to be whatever kind of thing you want. If you want it to, be a series of button presses, or a series of mouse movements with the push of a button, you can do that. And you get to re-record it as much as you want. And you don't need... It has a menu system, so you can choose what keys you want active or what the mouse move is. And you replay it on the screen. It's a weird bit of code I hadn't really considered, and it's odd. Let's see. Typing this comment on a Signum 3.1. Vlad Gorhovsky. Awesome. I've got my 3.1 right here. I need to, well, actually, this is my original 3.1. It has the, you see this, it has the display on it, has the Pomodoro timer on it, and this gigantic chirp beep thing, which is just ridiculous. I actually ordered it on like AliExpress or something. It's like, yeah, I need a speaker, a buzzer speaker. So I saw the picture and I'm like, I need one more thing to hit my discount for it. So like, sure, that looks like the right thing. So I ordered it. Like, this is like a fire alarm, man. It took a lot of timing to get it to be not horrifying to use. But it's on blues, and that's great, and the blues are great, but it's on my desktop at home, and it's very loud. Like, impressively loud. Loud enough that the kids wake up. So I'm making one with a bunch of reds, so that should quiet things down slightly. But I just need to get these going. Where was I? Okay, getting distracted here. Chat. Arch Davis, I believe my friend Arch Davis one time talked to you about an old IBM keyboard. Well, talking to me about old IBM keyboards is pretty easy. All you got to do is call Unicomp, and then I'll probably answer if I'm at my desk and not on the floor doing 1,000 different things. And if I haven't returned your call, I apologize. It's just insane right now. But it's good, It is what it is. Business is catching up, or we're catching up to our business, I should say. And we're getting keyboards out the door, because that is the most important thing. know, if you're not selling keyboards, why are you there? You know, the doors need to stay open in order for you to continue doing just about anything. What is particularly frustrating is that the issues that we're having are not related to people getting sick. It's related to people having to deal with the consequences of the pandemic and all the stuff that's going on right now. Because it's like the secondary effects. It's the kids being out of school. It's the people being quarantined even though they don't test positive. And it's just throwing lots of stuff out of whack. So, I mean, I'm glad that we have what we have. But it's just frustrating. So this actually shorts out the switch top. So I might have to cut these. And before I do that, before I cut these, I'm going to make sure that they have a good connection and that it's a good switch, because I should probably test both of these switches. Because once I solder this onto the bottom, I'm not going to be able to desolder these switches. That's not happening. It's difficult. I've got kind of it's like a creative, it's like the fall blues. I was talking to another maker in the UK, and he has kind of a similar thing going on. And there's lots of pandemic stuff and other things that are affecting what's going on right now, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of expected that things be a little weird. There we go. Come on now. Good. Normally I don't really test the switches, but these are going to be extremely difficult to remove if they're broken. Plus, I harvest switches from everywhere, so it's who knows what quality I'm dealing with, or what poor quality I'm dealing with. So we've got this, got our switches on top here, and we're mounting this Pro Micro on the bottom. It's going to be facing up and out. But once again, if I solder it in place like this, there's not enough room for the connector, or rather there's not enough room for the plug. So I'm actually going to take, find it, there it is, this guy, and attach it so that I have some head space for the cable to plug into. And I'm probably, no, this is fine. So let's, okay. So I think I'm going to solder it in place far away, and then put the plug in, and then adjust the plug, and then melt the solder so that it moves and gets comfortable. And then once it's comfortable, I'll remove the heat, solidify the solder, unplug it, and then solder the rest of the points. That should get me where I need to get. It's always a good idea to, all right, let me trim these connections actually. This is what I was saying. What is it with desks? Messy desk. It's another great engineer at work, and his place is as much of a mess as my place is. It's like you got your mind, you're a genius or something, right? That's a good excuse for just having a mess. There we go. Everyone's wearing their eye protection, right? Given how far these things fly, I wouldn't. One of you is probably in danger. All right. So we're going to execute our plan here. We've planned ahead. We're mounting things, putting things where they belong. I think I can get away with this. Yeah. All right. This is fine. This is fine. It's one of those times. It's always when you're soldering, you always feel like you need to grow another set of hands. Just I could do with like 2 more hands, 2 more arms. Okay, good enough. I'm just enjoying this. That looks good. Just enjoying this little. It's like the copper sponge thing in the middle here. That thing. It's very. Oh, it's the other tip. It's very useful. Very, very comfy. Very nice. Cleans the tip very nicely. I'm just like blown away by the most moderate gear because I make do with what I have, and it's like if I have a $15 soldering iron, then that's what I'm going to use. It's like, do I really need something new? Like, can I get by with something not new? Okay, so I've got it plugged in, and there's this gap right here in the middle, and I'm going to try and melt the solder and then press it there so that the plug rests against the PCB, and hopefully get a good alignment here. That's kind of weird. Not bad. You're allowed to be a little disappointed if you don't burn yourself while you're soldering, because you're not getting the full experience if you're not burning yourself at least once. I tell you, Vlad's Signum looks awesome. Calling him out if he's still here. That is a clean looking Signum. Very nice. It is. Yeah, that's my favorite part. It's just seeing how other people put them together, because someone always puts it together in a weird way, a way that I didn't expect, I should say. All right, so we've got 1 point soldered on both header pins, 1 point over here and 1 point over here, so we can still adjust if we have to, but this looks like a pretty good spacing. We've still got some good room in there, and there's enough room in there for this cable to be thick or the head to be a bit bigger if it's not. Let's see. The tooling. Well, tooling's fine. The tooling on the Classic is, it is what it is. It's old. We only keep it around for enthusiasts, for people who want that old style. But it's, Wait, I'm missing one of these. There's no misunderstanding about it. People call up and I'm like, yeah, no, it's the worst fit and finish. It's just straight up. It is. And if you're gonna want the best fit and finish, then get the new one. But don't get the old one and expect it to be as nice as the new one. The tooling's expensive. Unicomp doesn't do well, they don't do the short run stuff. And my understanding is you can get cheap molds, and lots of people do, for small runs. But if you want something that's going to last, hundreds of thousands of runs or millions of runs, then you need. I forget where I got this from. You need the expensive stuff. And it's just not, for the volume that Unicomp does, it doesn't. makes sense to buy something small that's going to break and make customers upset because they want it, and you say, well, it was kind of a, you know, limited run. Who do you think we are, Mass Drop? Let's see. Well, whatever. This will have a... I'll put a blue on it later. Maybe I'll steal a blue from one of those. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm missing one blue, so I'm going to steal it from my current keyboard. All right. Is the right one? Yeah, definitely. I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. You get to be a professional once someone pays you for doing something. It's just the literal definition. As long as someone pays you, then you're a professional. Science. All right, now I've got a solid set of blues. So this is mounted. This is mounted underneath. Not too bad. There are, that's kind of an issue. I've got some case mount holes for it. And this one's kind of intruded upon by the microcontroller. It's kind of back there, that hole. So I'll figure it out. There's, you know, this is the first one, the first run. It's always things to be adjusted. But, you know, you can just set it down. Frankly, my plan is to make a 3D printed case for it. Definitely going to 3D print a case and not just use a hot glue gun. You know me. Do I look like someone who would use hot glue? I mean, like, all the time? Forever? It's always hot glue. Wait, so it's all hot glue? Always has been. Let's see, what's a good way to do this? Not only is this 3D print extremely useful, it's extremely well done. Like, it has these little ridges that are cut out to a PCB depth, so you can use it to hold PCBs very easily. And now you've got this big mass that's a lot harder to slide around your desk. And it's a lot easier to keep on target. Stay on target. 6-button macro pad, not a usual numpad. That's a good question. So I have a numpad. The first thing I wanted to do was make something that I could make MikeMike into for the macro pad, because I wanted something that had a good interface. And originally it was just going to be 2 buttons. And then when I realized that the way to control MikeMike, the way to program MikeMike was through a serial interface, I was like, oh, well, now it hardly needs anything. Like, we don't need the extra interface. We don't need extra buttons or external buttons on it. Because this is it's a journey that comes from a full, like, total control would be running your entire keyboard through an Arduino Due, which has USB host on it, and that'll allow you to do complete pass-through of your keyboard. I don't know if you can do keyboard and mouse. Probably. Yeah, it's a high-speed 64-bit. The Arduino Due is like super overkill. The documentation just needs to catch up with it a little bit, I think. But the point was that you could plug in any keyboard to it, and it would have a display on it, and probably, you know, some menu selections, just little up down arrows and like a OK and a cancel, and be able to type something in to your keyboard and have it go straight to the computer, and then go to the Arduino Due and hit record, and then start typing, and then, you know, do mouse controls. Maybe you have a joystick on it, or maybe the joystick's on the Due. That makes a lot more sense. And then you hit OK to finish the recording, and then you would have a touchscreen LCD that fits on top of it, because it's about, you know, it's about that big. It's not bad. And then you can choose your macros from there, and that way everything's on the software, and it's displayed, so you can, you know, flip the pages over and do as many macros as you want, and re-record and set values, and probably have sliders for. See, this is every time I make something, I get better at making something, and then I go back to the things that I wanted to make before and I improve them. Sliders for duration, for pauses and stuff like that. So I just wanted something that was going to be quick to market, and by quick to market I mean like I can use it because I need it. But I wanted something that was going to be quick and easy to use, and easy to make, and these little tiny macro pads are pretty easy to make, and has enough buttons to be a good utility. So this is going to be laid out, and the way it's designed is so that these are, you've got an inverted T arrow keys. So you've got your up, down, left, right, and then your OK and cancel. And from those buttons, you can navigate the entire menu of MikeMike. And, you know, the menuing system, and like I said, I'm going to try to stream this tomorrow morning if I get up in time. The idea is that you enter MikeMike, you log into MikeMike essentially, and you use these cursor buttons, up, down, left, right, to navigate through the menu of, you know, edit a macro, play a macro, go into shortcut mode, edit a macro, and you hit right to select the item. Which macro do you want to edit? You've got 7 macros. You know, macro 0, enter. Which instruction do you want to enter or edit? The first instruction. Okay. Which action do you want for this instruction? Let's move the mouse. Okay. Where do you want to move the mouse? Move the arrow keys to move the mouse, and then you make your selection. Enter. Okay. What do you want to do next? Left click once you move there. Left click, and all this is controlled straight through here. So the serial interface was a cool idea, and it's actually, I realized that it was an old idea, which is probably why people haven't done it before. But I also understand that there's that the serial interface has some idiosyncrasies that might make it difficult for some people to interface with it. But for straight output, it's super easy. So if you log into a serial interface and your settings are wrong, you can type into your keyboard, and things like backspace and enter might be read differently, and it might not work with MikeMike. But if you log into it and all of your controls are here, and all you're getting out of MikeMike is the serial output, it's just displaying, it's just a text display telling you what where you are in the menu, then it becomes unidirectional. You know, it's going from MikeMike to your screen, and then you type into MikeMike to control the output. Then it takes away that input problem and matching the terminal settings problem. So it simplifies the interface. So if this was just 2 buttons, I wouldn't be able to do that. But a numpad, 9 buttons, is basically next on the list. The other thing is, MikeMike is almost entirely software, because you can take pretty much any keyboard really that has a Pro Micro plugged into it, and install Arduino and install, you know, get going with MikeMike. Install MikeMike. MikeMike is just software. Which is why I think it's strange no one has done this before. I've seen macro pads where, you know, you program it live, or you program it and then compile it and then burn the code to the Atmel controller, but I've never seen anything that was really live recordable. It's also kind of funny because when you plug in the device, or when you plug in MikeMike, it registers as a HID keyboard and HID mouse, which means no drivers required. even on XP, like older stations. And then it registers as a USB to serial interface. And if the box you're on, if you don't have admin rights on the box that you're on, which is possible for some customers, if you don't have that access, then you can't log into the serial interface. So you think, oh, well, now I can't change it. I can't tweak things. But you can still do mouse movements because you can interface with it blind. Because that was what I was doing because I didn't want to install the serial terminal. I just hit left, 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 and it resets me to the beginning of the menu items. Then I'm like, okay, I want to edit a macro and move the mouse. Okay, so edit macro is right. Which macro? Macro 1. Press down, press right. Next is which instruction? First instruction, press right. Which action? Okay, first action's empty action, next one's mouse move. Down, right. Okay, now I start moving the mouse around on the screen and it registers. Like you can memorize the menu interface and you don't even need the serial terminal. Obviously, it's not really going to work out very well for for keyboard input, but it's still cool because it's like you don't have to. It requires less, and whenever you can require less, you should. I really wish there was a better way to do this. You need like a sponge or a blanket or something to do this underneath. It's actually not that important that these disappear. It's just that when they're sticking out like this, I always worry that they're going to get dragged against and shorted out. But this is something that, this isn't Vexus. This is something that sits on a desk, so it's probably not that big of a deal. Everyone's still wearing their eye protection, right? Let's see if we've got any. The dactyl manuform. I'm not sure about the manuform. I do have a dactyl, and my favorite thing, my favorite thing about the dactyl is actually how it was created. Because the dude that made it, I forget his name. Oh, he's so cool. I wish I remembered his name. Adarath? Matt Adarath, I think. But he made it using OpenSCAD, but he hated the syntax of OpenSCAD, which everyone does as long as you use OpenSCAD. Then you're like, oh, I do hate this. So he made a Lisp interpreter to as a meta language to create output in the OpenSCAD format. And that's why he was able to make all of those different geometries for the scoop, and then easily move them up and down or deeper or shallower. And it's just really, really, really impressive stuff. Really cool. Plus Lisp, so I mean that's just bonus points. You can't. Anytime a Lisp is involved, I'm like, ooh, very nice. I don't quite know what it is about Lisps. They're just good. They're like a programmer's programming language, and I don't quite understand what that means, but once you get it, you get it, and you don't want to not get it, if that makes sense. It's hard to describe. It always sounds like semi-metaphysical, like semi-religious, especially when you start, talking about Lisps and the old days of Xerox PARC and, Ally and all that. Just hardcore dudes, hardcore programmers. Nowadays, everyone's just like downloading libraries, and libraries are great, but I don't know. I'm just an old man, being all crotchety and in particular. The other thing about this macro pad is I wanted it to be. It's like it can be a numpad though. Like it's super easy, and there's more than enough connections on this for it. Just whenever I start drawing up a numpad, I start like, okay, well, numpad. So let's do 3x3, right? Like, well, you kind of need the 0 in there, obviously. So, like, okay, well, we'll do 3 by 4. Like, well, you got an extra pinky hanging out here. You might as well do some modifiers over here. You know, your plus and your minus. You're like, okay, we'll do a 4 by 4. I like it. I mean, while you're doing that, you can have some stuff up here. So it's like, we might as well do 5 by 4. It's like, okay, 5 by 4. Like, okay. But like, your thumb is just going to be out here. You totally need thumb switches. Oh, I solved the thumb paddle problem. The thumb paddles. So there's I could not figure out a good. Let me finish my thought. I'm sorry. It's just like the flags. Okay, I apologize. Finish the thought. Thumb paddles. Right. So like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And whenever I try to build a numpad, I need more than a Pro Micro, and that's the truth. That's just what happens every single time, because I always start adding up the features, and I'm like, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. We could add that. And then it's like, okay, well, now we need something bigger than a Pro Micro, and now we need the ESP32. And the ESP32, I love. There's a lot of room on it. It's very roomy. It's tons of memory, tons of megahertz. You don't have to be very tight with anything on it, but it doesn't do USB host, or it doesn't do high-speed USB, which isn't that big of a deal, because you can do Bluetooth, but the interface is totally different for like mouse controls and doing the macros and stuff. So I might have to play around with that some more, because it would be a really cool ESP device. And then when I start thinking about the numpad, and then it starts getting bigger and doing more things, it brings me back to the idea of the numpad as the keyboard, and then the keyboard as the slave device, which is something I discussed a while back. The idea that you can have this keyboard. That's odd. Oh, there it is. The idea that you can have this keyboard set up and install on it an ATmega 328 or a Nano, Arduino Nano. So if you install your Arduino Nano, it doesn't do high-speed USB, but it does do I2C. So then you have the keyboard. This is the dumb keyboard idea. The idea that the keyboard is not the controller. The keyboard is just all it's doing is pulsing the keys. It's pulsing the matrix, and it's updating the I2C buffer with the state. You know, what keys are being pressed and what keys are being released. And then the brains is in the numpad, and the numpad just connects via TRRS connector or whatever I2C interface, and then it pulls the keyboard, and it decides what things need to be. And that's how you get to, that numpad, and you can put that numpad in your pocket and carry it to work, and that's your keyboard. You get to work, you plug your dumb keyboard into your numpad, and you plug your numpad into your computer, or even Bluetooth it doesn't matter. And you type into this, and your layout stays on that numpad. And then it becomes an Arduino Due every single time. Mess around with it, it becomes an Arduino Due. We have this joke, me and my one of my friends is gunny guy, and it's like, okay, well, best gun for this. Okay, well, obviously you're doing this and you're doing that. You don't want it to be too much of this, so you do that. It's like, oh no, okay, that's a pretty good gun, but here's a better idea. If you do this instead of that and change it to this, so obviously this is the optimal gun. And then when you take like all of it to the logical conclusion, it becomes 300 blackout pistol. Like, it always comes back to, it's gonna be this. This is the good all around, the best fit for pretty much every situation. Like, skip to the end, it's 300 blackout pistol, and it's skip to the end, it's Arduino Due numpad. So every time I try to make a numpad, it spirals out of control. And it becomes a gigantic task where I'm not just, finishing this real quick. Otherwise, I would still be designing the board right now and designing the features. And I need this MikeMike because it's extremely useful. It has already been extremely useful in the prototype, even though the prototype is kind of a mess right now. I'm sure it's fine. But that's what prototypes are meant to be. I don't have as big of a problem making prototypes so long as I make them with these female header pins. Because like I said, I make a lot of keyboards, and it gets to the point where I'm like, well, you know, do I want to waste a controller by actually soldering it directly to the board? So now I just use the female header pins on everything. I'm actually going to put some female header pins on this because I already have them on my Signum 3.0, and I just swap out controllers and try different stuff out. So I don't have a 3.1 that has the header pins soldered on. So this is MikeMike actually. It's oh, I got to get the pins on. I'll have to figure out some feet or 3D print that base. Oh, nice. 3D printing is just fantastic. Like, totally worth it. If you're any kind of maker or any kind of tinkerer, it's just ridiculous what you can do with it. Just this vise, dude. Just this vise is just fantastic. It's totally worth it. Let's see. 6-button micropad, dactyl. Right. So the dactyl manuform. I have a dactyl light cycle, which is missing the top row, so it's a little bit smaller. I have it assembled, and I am actually in the same mode with that one because I would like to make controllers for it, but I also want to do a hardware split on it, and then, which is just I run a ribbon cable, you know, for the rows and columns from one end to the other where the brain is. And then when I think about doing that, I think, well, why don't I just I2C it? And then I spiral again. And I come back to, well, clearly I need to program the DUE to be a keyboard and then have a whole bunch of I2C TRRS connectors on top of it as a hat. And then I'll plug those in, and that's how I'll run it. But generally, the shortest, quickest answer is the correct one for me. I might actually have a short, quick answer. Yep, there it is. Oh boy, this is the original. This is the first keyboard I ever made. Look at how professional. This is actually the rebuild of it. So this was the first keyboard I made. This is what it looked like. Look at that. We got clothespins. We got ribbon cables going all over. I got this steel plate that I took out of a Dell AT101 and just like took a hacksaw to it. And then, you know, how does the teensy mount? Well, I'll tell you how the teensy mounts. You just blob of hot glue, and then you just drop it right in, and then you hand wire it right on top. This was a fantastic keyboard. Still is, kind of, actually. You can find this on my GitHub page. It's I think I called it the Split 56, but it was also called the Ghetto Docs. Once I got access to a laser cutter, I started doing, you know, cutting plates and acrylic to get my designs looking sharp. I forgot I got a mount point. There's actually, yeah, believe it or not, that's a USB Type-C connector there that I was messing around with because I wanted to be able to make it, that was going to be a hardwire split. So it would not use any kind of protocol to communicate with the other side. It would just create up wires, much like that one is just a ribbon cable going across. That was the first keyboard I ever made. It was pretty much out of frustration because I wanted something. And let's see. Yeah, that was before the Infinity Ergo Docs. So I made that, and then I was like, this is awesome and amazing. And the thumb switches are great. And the Infinity Ergo Docs is coming out, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'll buy it. And I hated it. It was terrible, and the build quality was bad. It was huge. It was just gigantic. It was heavy, and the software was bad, or the firmware was bad. And Input Club, which I don't know if they're still around. They do a lot of great work, but they just kind of moved on to the next project, which is like, I respect that, but their promise was to improve the firmware to add all the features, and that did not take place. So I wound up selling that one, and you know, it all worked out for the better. Obviously, I'm designing my own keyboards, making my own, and well, making keyboards for other people too. That's pretty neat. This is a straight pass-through Bluetooth adapter. It's made by Handheld Scientific. Oh no, it's broken. Fantastic piece of kit, and works with most works with QMK really well. I'm gonna put that inside something, probably in a Unicomp or something, maybe a Mini or something. Soldering. Yeah, I'm soldering things. Let's see. Yes. He has a talk about the keyboard and the design of it, and it's really cool because in that he says, or when he's talking about how he designed the dactyl, he says the dactyl is I think he said self-sustaining, because he used the dactyl to program a new dactyl, you know, the next version. So he's typing on his dactyl while he's using his dactyl to make a new dactyl. And I realized I was doing that with MikeMike, because I was designing the circuit board and I had a whole bunch of pads that were not set properly, or they were not on the correct layers, which means I'm in KiCad and I'm like, okay, well, if the pads aren't set, I just hover over the pad, hit E, navigate to, you know, point my mouse at the selection that I want, click it, click the next one, click two of them that I had to click, and then click OK, and then repeat the process. So I used my prototype MikeMike to click or press E, navigate mouse, click click OK, and then I was just like, point at it, press MikeMike, point at it, press MikeMike, point at it, press MikeMike, and then click, done. Click, done. I'm like, I'm using MikeMike to make a better MikeMike. This is the way. This is the correct way of doing things. Make tools that make making tools easier. Everything just it compounds. It's like compound interest. Yeah. These the Lisps are a weird thing. They are very, I don't know. I get misty when I talk about Lisps. It's just so simple, and it's fun to work in, and you realize how pure and simple they are, and because they're so pure and simple, you just you just want to work in it, and then you want to make meta languages where you use your Lisp to control something else, or you use your Lisp to generate Python code, or C++ code, or Arduino code. So it's just fun and good. I don't know. So real use case scenario, like the KiCad. This is too much talking for me. The KiCad scenario where you're clicking things and then typing things. You can make it, you can make it type out your email. It doesn't really matter. It's made to be reprogrammable, so it doesn't. Basically, any scenario where you're clicking multiple things and typing multiple things, and the most likely use case scenario is tabbing or doing data entry or form entry. There's a lot of people who have instances of putting the same bits of data into the same forms every day, and then with minor variations. It's like, okay, well, what state are we in? Kentucky, KY, tab. What's the zip code? 40517, tab. Enter the employee name, Troy Fletcher, tab. And you can make all of that be instant, one press of MikeMike. There's just so much repetition. Basically anything you can do with AutoHotkey. because auto hotkey does have very good support, and the mouse movement is extremely useful in auto hotkey. I just find it really annoying to find your exact coordinates in auto hotkey, and then if it jams up, then you have to reset it. So you get this mode where you're like, auto hotkey key press, go, and then click, and then go, and then click, and then go, and then click, and then it doesn't work, or it slips one of the clicks, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let me go back and restart it, and go back in, and then go, and then, I don't know, every time I use auto hotkey, I'm like, this is really great, and then I use it for like a day, and then I'm like, why is it not working? Why is this weird? This doesn't make any sense. I just have weird problems with it. There's just always something going on with it. I mean, simple stuff, it works just fine, but well, either way, I wanted something that was separate and programmable and reprogrammable, and not me having to go into the Arduino interface and modify the code myself. I just wanted to be able to do it faster, using the device as an interface, as an input device. So I don't know. It's mostly software. I'm going to show you, or show how it works tomorrow once I get this together and programmed. Hopefully I'll be up early enough to do another stream, or at least record a video of MikeMike working, because you can use it in pretty much any scenario where you're sending mouse input or keyboard input, or because you can chain them together. I have a number of macros built into my keyboard, but there are limits to it because it's a simple ATmega32U4, so you can't do tons of cool custom keyboard features and then add tons and tons of macros. The other thing is, this is for, this is not for me. I make a lot of stuff for other people. My design goals are to make this stuff accessible to other people, so that they don't have to do dumb, meaningless, boring, busy work, because I hate dumb, meaningless, boring, busy work. It's abhorrent to me, and I don't want other people to have to put up with it. I think there's a lot of busy work jobs, and I don't think people should have to do them. Or at least, if they have to do them, they should do them while clicking as little as possible. It's just a shame. I mean, it's what I did professionally, was doing a lot of this automation stuff. And I'm supposed to get this in. These are the serial connections. Not required, but I'm curious to know if I can get connected to it from a separate device. That'd be pretty cool. Now you'll stay. I just want people to not have to do busy work. I want to save them from busy work. I know that some people don't want to be saved from busy work, but some people's jobs is busy work. My job is busy work. And if that's the case, you don't want to make your busy work go away. But if that's the case, then maybe you just keep the secret between you and me and MikeMike, and you do your work. You complete your work at whatever pace you want, and enjoy the free time that MikeMike affords you. I have the dubious honor. I'm not sure if that's the right word. the strange honor of automating myself out of multiple jobs. You know, the project lasts as long as the project lasts, and then I write code and write web front ends and web interfaces that will make the project go faster, and then the project completes. It's like, cool, what's next? And they're like, we're actually done. Have a nice day. Oh, like a heads up would have been nice. But it is what it is. If it was busy work anyways, I wouldn't want to do it. I have no desire to extend a boring job by spending more time doing the boring job, and then wondering what's going to happen when the boring job is over. There we go. So I can steal these. Header pins everywhere. I also broke out an I2C interface on here, so the lighting is weird here. So that we can do that, whatever thing I was talking about. So it's always an Arduino Due. It's always the dumb keyboard idea. An I2C interface somewhere else. Off in the horizon. Somewhere else the input from this keyboard will be processed. Who knows where? Who knows when? This is going to be sweet. I really like making this stuff because it helps me and it helps other people. I don't know if I completed that thought. That was my favorite part of doing this stuff, of making these new keyboard designs and everything. My favorite part of that is getting emails from people who built their keyboards up in strange, interesting ways, and ways that I never would have imagined. Or people who email me and say that they're typing without pain, for the first time in a long time. And that's it's very humbling to hear that, and I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. And the opportunity that, as much as I dislike YouTube and Google, it is the opportunity that YouTube and Google has afforded me. And I'm able to reach people and show them this cool stuff that hopefully can help them to work without pain. Well, I think that is MikeMike. I'm going to have to see about getting a case 3D printed, design something up, come up with some funky keycaps to put on top of it. I just need a base to protect the bottom. It's going to rock around a little bit. I was totally just going to get, and you can do this too, just get some hot glue, put a layer of hot glue across this line and then this line so that they don't short out on any metal contacts, and then hot glue swirl some feet on the other side so that it's evened out, and then you'll have a nice little solid macro pad. As long as you make room for the plug. That's the other thing. Yeah, that was good. Good clearance there. Just want it to be able to sit flat without flexing on the cable, pushing the cable up, down, or left or right, because that's how you're gonna, these Pro Micros. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it. See how it's tilted that way? It's cheap Pro Micros. It's knockoffs, man. This is just what I had, but like I said, the board supports the smaller Pro Micro footprint and then the wider Pro Micro big one with the USB mini connector on it, which vastly superior. So I'm just going to say it again. I don't have any USB Type-C device yet, but maybe I'll become one of those people. Seems good. Seems all right. I'm a late adopter, though, so sue me. Very good. Looks like we're caught up. Right. So the plan was to make this. I'm going to use some blacks on this. This is just what I have. They're cheap and easy. And they work well. Yep. So let's see. I'm going to get a keychain on here. I have to. Well, the more I talk about the setting up the demo tomorrow. Yeah, demo. It is a demo. Demo sounds much more official. Guys, I'm going to be running a demo tomorrow of MikeMike. Everyone's going to be there. It's Elon Musk and the other guy, you know, what's his name? Jeff Bezos. We're bros. We're going to we fist bump. It's a tech demo. It's very, very official sounding. I'm going to do a demo of MikeMike tomorrow. The more I talk about it, the more I feel like it's going to actually happen. Like I said, it's just like full blues. Full blues. Just not feeling much of anything. But the creativity never stops. Can't shut it off. So the ideas are still coming, which is just fine. I just want to be able to do more with them. These are okay. Still kind of weird. Like I said, most of my switches are harvested. So it's you might not always test your switches, but I feel compelled to do so. There we go. These probes are a little weird. I just changed to them because they were newer. I figured they'd be better, but I don't know if they are. So the plan was to do this and then this, but then I was gonna, I think I solder those in first. I think that was the idea. Right, so before I solder these switches into place, I'm going to solder the header pins on. So let's just go back in time real quick. We got this. We're fine. You guys gonna attend my tech demo tomorrow? It's very, very prestigious, actually. I don't know if you've heard about it. Everyone's talking about it. So Signum PCB is I use JLC PCB just because I started with them and I never had any problems with them until recently. And recently I had some customs that had production issues. One of them was a production issue that I could kind of plan around and adjust my design so that it's less likely to happen. And the other was a production issue that I'm not able to do anything about. It was just mishandled. And it has me re-looking at providers to see see what I can use, what the alternatives are, I should say. So for something as small as MikeMike, it's actually quite easy to find something. But the bigger the circuit board gets, the bigger the cost gets. And ideally, I would choose an American manufacturer for a variety of reasons, but there are not a lot, and the prices are at least 5 times more. Or the cost is 5 times more. So I'm weighing my options, but it doesn't bode very well if I'm going to get boards that I'm going to need to check and inspect and then pursue a complaint process with if something's wrong with them. Because the complaint process with JLC PCB, I love them. They do great work, but they don't speak English. And because they don't speak English, it is very difficult to communicate with them. I frequently communicate with people who do not speak English, and they go through a translator program, and I'm very happy to be able to adjust my language so that it translates better, so that I know it's going to translate better. But whenever I communicate with JLC PCB, it's like I'm brand new. It's like I have a lot of skill and a lot of experience communicating with people through those translator programs, and none of it seems to mean a thing to JLC PCB. Everyone else seems to get what I'm saying, just not them. It was a significant communication issue. It took over a month to resolve, and that's very disconcerting. So, but again, that's just recently, and I can plan around some of these issues. And there's like the pandemic, and there's lots of weird stuff going on right now. So I'm happy to chalk it up to that, but I am searching out alternatives to see what's available there. Yeah, once again, the pads on this switch will be shorted out if you put the connector up against it. So if you come in full contact with the board like this, just push it all the way down, it's going to short out that switch. So make sure that you do not mount it there. You give it a little bit of space. My recommendation for that anyways is to use one of the connectors, one of the cables. I thought I brought one here. This isn't it. I might just eyeball it. Just needs a little bit of space. Oh, here it is. Take your connector, or at least a connector, and plug it in. Then figure out how much space you're going to need. This one actually might need more space than the micro. Well, obviously it's bigger. Okay, so duh, Troy, obviously. Well, that's a little different. Okay, let's try that out. So once again, just going to solder one point, and then we'll adjust it. There's another maker I was telling about these issues with JLC PCB, and he said he had also experienced multiple issues with them. So I might just have gotten lucky, all this time. So it's concerning, and I'm pursuing other options, but I don't know how or when it's going to come through, because a lot of it just works just fine. So I don't know. If there were an easy alternative that cost 3 times more, I would do it. Let's put it like that. Alright. I'm actually losing control here, so let me clamp down here. nice and tight. Oh, the other thing about MikeMike, the other potential is things like gaming. Like if you want one button to be a macro or a script to, you know, shoot and then switch your gun and then jump or crouch or something. I don't know. You can do all that or pre-program all that and do it with a single button press. And again, it registers as a standard USB HID device, so there's no, it doesn't look funky to the game or anything. It's another example of user experience being managed. Looks about right. A little bit of space there. Looks good. Let's get our four corners. Very nice, very nice. I guess I kind of have the same problem as the macro pad idea, or the numpad, the dumb keyboard idea. It always winds up being an Arduino Due. The numpad just gets too smart and the keyboard gets too dumb. It's the same problem I have with. See, went ahead and forgot what I was talking about. I am a genius. Very, very intelligent. I think that looks better. Oh, right. So I was thinking about it gets complicated, and then I don't want to. It becomes complicated, and then it becomes too much work, or I just get overwhelmed with it. And I'm like, forget it. I'll just do it some other time. That is my Signum 4, because the next version I have this long feature list, and it probably shouldn't have all of those features, but if it did, it would be pretty cool. It also might just look like a mess if it had every single feature that I suggested on it. The other thing is I don't know if it will, like ideally it would have an optional number row so that I could standardize and only have one offering. The Signum 4 would be able to cover the Signum 3 and the 3.1. Oh, I did already program this one. Okay. Yeah, before you solder any of these microcontrollers, always make sure that you program them first to make sure that they work. Because again, desoldering them is terrible. MikeMike is supposed to make less work for you, not more. Very good. There we go. Thinking about getting a microscope because they're kind of inexpensive. I have almost no use for one though. I just want to be able to prove my my surface mount soldering chops. Have one at work that I've spent many hours gazing into. And it's good. It's fine. I like soldering. I am impressed, at least, that I used to be so bad at it. There it is. Just all I am is a testament to practice. And YouTube, I think. Apparently YouTube DL got DMCA'd, which is kind of funny. I wasn't aware that there was MPAA DCSS encryption keys on there. It's like, does YouTube use the AES encryption? Or is it AAC? Too many acronyms in my head. I wasn't aware that they used that. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act is garbage anyways. You shouldn't be able to copyright a series of bytes. It does kind of feel like the old days with Jack Valenti. Kicking down the doors of Linux users who want to watch DVDs, want to watch their own DVDs on their computers. Madness. He died a while back. I hope he got right with God before he did. He was not a very good man. At least from what I saw. It's like I know what I'm doing. The concept of making a series of bytes illegal is just hilarious. It's like you can find that string of hex code in probably in like image files, definitely in MP3s, which is kind of funny. It's just a series of bytes. It's not special, and it's common enough that it probably appears all over the internet. It's just silly. Yeah, you can't. So, we have I type on my Signum at work, obviously, and we have we're working on a new Unicomp keyboard, and we're updating the firmware on it. So the firmware kind of needs to be tested, and I'm one of the fastest typists in the office. So like, I can test some of those things, and I kind of need to test some of those things. So I get to type on the new test keyboard. Oh, that's interesting. And try it out. So I have to not use my Signum for a bit, which is fine. It's a cool keyboard. You know, Unicomp keyboards are nice. It's cool to type on them. They are very comfortable, very, very good feedback. But they're heavy for me. And I miss a short stroke spacebar and the V and C keys. And so I can tell where, I work better with certain things. and I can usually switch back and forth all right. Like I can use my laptop keyboards pretty well. They're ThinkPad laptops, but so they've got good keyboards. But still, like I don't have too many problems with the ThinkPad laptop, but like the Unicomp keyboard or most other mechanical keyboards, I'm just ruined. I can't use them at any length. It kind of stinks. I wish I could. But that's the other thing is I want to try out these reds because the reds are lighter than the blacks that I'm running right now. And I figure the reds might make it a little bit easier because the Signum is the only keyboard I can type on for like a week without pain. Because if I did not have a Signum or if I had to use a normal keyboard and I use it for more than a few days, I am not a happy camper. It's the pain is like a cumulative effect. So once it adds up enough, you're just out of commission for days. Hopefully just days. Because the pain just lingers. So it's perfectly fine to use a more ergonomic keyboard that requires less motion of you and less conforming of your hands to the keyboard and more letting your hands be more relaxed while you type. It's perfectly acceptable to do that because you're extending the life of your hands and reducing your overall pain just in general. Now, like I said before, it's most people will not have problems with RSI or carpal tunnel or anything like that. Of the people who do type a lot, more of those people will have that problem. But there is a percentage of the population that could probably type in the worst fashion, with the worst ergonomics, on the heaviest keys, and never have a problem. There seems to be some kind of a genetic component to it. But even if you're not typing or if you're not typing on an ergonomic keyboard to avoid pain, it's still just faster. I mean, mechanically, it's just less motion. So you can still just do it to be faster. That's not a problem. It's perfectly acceptable. And that's the other reason I have it. The Signum is designed to be a travel board, is so is after you become that person who can only use that one keyboard, you can bring the keyboard with you. It's a lot easier to carry it around. That's weird. So I'm happy to hear anyone is ruined or that the Signum has ruined other keyboards for you, because it just means that you're all in on the Signum and that your hands are happy, and that's what's important. Less pain. Even this. That's what MikeMike is for. Less motion, less pain. Less everything. It's just simplicity. Simplicity in all things. Terry Davis had a really cool... I was watching one of his videos. He was talking about complexity. And he said idiots like things that are complex, because when they see things that are complex, they say, "Oh, I can't even understand that. That must mean it's good." Quite the opposite, actually. Yeah, Einstein is reported to have said, "Make things as simple as possible, but no simpler." So you can extrapolate that up, and say, you know, simplify this, simplify that, simplify my clicking process, simplify my form entry process. Even something as simple as physical activities. You know, if you're repeating a physical activity over and over again, you know, digging a hole or doing something, you can ask yourself how much of that motion that you're performing is actually work. Or rather, how much of it is actually accomplishing the goal. How much of your motion is actually moving dirt. And how much of it is you know, maybe even placing the dirt or getting your body in position or twisting to move, to shovel the dirt somewhere else and then twisting back. All of that, all of the motion that is expended, that is not accomplishing the goal, which is just moving dirt, is wasted motion. It's all about removing wasted motion or eliminating wasted motion, or wasting as little motion as possible. That is a nice looking MikeMike. Forgot to solder the headers. We could do this. This is fine. I'm fine with the way things are events are currently unfolding. Desolder these switches. Get back in there. So you gotta pay attention. You guys are distracting me. I don't see why. I don't see why you guys need to do that. It'd be very, very rude. Very rude. It's also late. What is it? It's almost 1. Goodness. Not acceptable. I gotta get up early for that sweet tech demo that I'm doing. Escape, escape, escape. Go. Run, be free. Ah. Got it. There we go. There's 2 switches removed. Now, you know what works better than a solder sucker? Pretty much anything. My favorite method of removing solder from these holes is to heat the solder and then just hit it. There you go. Very nice. Except when it doesn't work. Come on. There we go. Very nice, very nice. Then the solder comes out in these nice little round balls. Now solder our header pins. Yeah, I'm gonna do this and then go to sleep. I'm not gonna even try working on the keyboard. I also should populate the diodes first. Just simplifies the whole process. Ah, no, 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 no. It's getting worse. Come on. Still 100 times worse working on surface mount soldering. The bridging, man. The bridging. There we go. Much better. Girls only like guys with cool skills. Computer hacking skills. Solder bridge removal skills. Fortunately, I have both. Sorry, ladies. I'm taken. Gentleman Bronco. That's what it was called. I was just thinking about the Napoleon Dynamite movie, and I was like, what's that other movie that was of the same style? And it was called Gentleman Bronco. I don't remember why, but it was just as strange as Napoleon Dynamite. So if you like that, then you'll probably enjoy this. All right, we're doing this. We're finishing up. Things are getting soldered correctly this time. We're thinking about strange movies. We're fixing our solder joints. Right. We're putting these switches back after we removed them. Oh, I should probably. Are we good? Crazy hooked. Lost it again. Yeah. I don't think you missed much. There's nothing much to miss, I think. This session it's not so cool. Nerds are not so nerd skills are not so cool, yeah. That's unfortunately true. They're very useful though. I'm gonna see if I can do that stream tomorrow when I wake up, which might still be like 5 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And I post all this stuff, so it's not like if you miss it, you're not gonna, you'll still be able to watch it. I'll post it to YouTube. You don't have to watch it live. There we go. So I'll probably take both of these in and I'll program them tomorrow and show off MikeMike here and see what it can do. So I don't know if you can see this. It says MikeMike down there in silver from the solder plating. Figured out how to do that in KiCad. So now I get to draw in copper. Just neat. All this is really neat. This is me. My face when. Just one cat fit in here. Yeah. Yeah. I just need thumb switches. Thumb switches on all the things. Oh, right. The paddles. I brought that up. So I figured out a solution for the paddles because there's no good way to mount them, and if you mount them to an individual switch housing, they can kind of tilt, and it's probably not a problem, but like the mechanical engineer in me is just like, like there's a way, just figure it out. And I realized that the paddles are likely to be implemented across 3 different switches, 3 different positions, or 2 positions, or across 3. The idea is that you would have the thumb switch in the middle, and then the paddles to either side. And those paddles, going left and right, you kind of push on them, you kind of flex on them a little bit. And that's less than ideal. And so I figured there was a way to mount them that used just the base of the switch. And I figured out that mount, and I got them fitted. And then I realized that those switches tend to rock because they have a bias toward one side. So where the mount points are, where the solder points are, if you lean in that direction, you can push the switch a bit. I don't really like that. It's probably not a problem, but I still don't like it. So I realized that if I mount it to the bottom of that one switch, then if that switch rocks, I worry about things kind of coming loose, or solder joints or pads detaching. It doesn't seem right. Then I realized that I can make it so that the base is not attached to the bottom of one switch, but rather it extends across 3 switches completely. So instead of it being one piece that fits underneath one switch and then has the paddle on top of it, it's going to be one continuous piece that fits underneath 3 switches, 19.05 millimeters apart. So everything's sized properly. So you can take your thumb clusters and then put your thumb cluster one in the middle, your large thumb, your long cat button in the middle. There's your long cat button, and then have paddles to either side. And then the mount point for the paddles will fit under the middle switch and then also under both of those switches on either side. And that way you'll have lots of friction holding it together, lots of surface area holding it together. And then if you invert the relief cut, you can still tilt it outward to get the paddles to fit inside. And then once it closes up like this and you attach it to the bottom, it'll be flat so it won't bend outward. It was a really inspired, smart, cool, great, awesome. And it came up while I was praying at church, so praise the Lord. It's just, those are the best things. That's just like, oh, well, that's perfect. Why didn't I think of that earlier? Just the perfect idea. So I'll get that designed, and then I will have. So I was like trying to figure out like a way to make the paddle mount into the stabilizer bar position, and it's just nothing seemed to fit, and everything would rock loose eventually. But this is I think this is the correct answer, which is pretty neat. Plus it'll actually work with the standard Signum. No, I can't say that. I don't know if it fits exactly, because the Signum 3 has 3.0 has the center switch, and then the other switches on the outside. I'm not sure if those are aligned perfectly. Maybe not. Maybe not. That might be a Signum 4 thing then. Yeah. Oh, we'll see. I don't have one around here right now, so it doesn't matter. So this is done. I should go to sleep so that I can wake up tomorrow. I've got that big presentation. You know that big presentation? Oh, very good. Yeah, Vlad, I'm happy to send you, once I get that figured out and I'll get it sent to you. The hot glue I've had varying degrees of success with. I've had some fields, I think it has to do with how clean the board is actually when you reattach them. Because the hot glue with the surface, with good surface area and good contact on a clean surface, and the PCB has to be clean, and then the 3D print has to be clean and free of oils. You probably clean it with like an alcohol wipe or something like that. It stays on for a very long time. One of the paddles that's on there has been on there the entire time, so over a year of constant use. The other ones have been swapped in and out for newer styles, so they have shorter life on them. But there is one that just I can't get it to stick, and it keeps one side keeps popping up. And it hadn't occurred to me that everything needed to be clean before you hot glue it in place. Uh, yeah, I like hot glue as much as the next maker, but it's just not a very professional solution. So I will be sending you, remind me or send me an email when I get those put together. You will be receiving a test copy, a demo unit to install. Have to desolder some switches, obviously, if you're up for it. But once you do, you can just put that in place, put the switches back in place, solder them in, and then you'll have your paddles all mounted nice and pretty. So there's our MikeMikes. I'm gonna go to bed and then wake up, and then stream some more lives. There's just a possibility I've screwed this up somehow. It's just you always wonder when you're working early in the morning. I'm sure it's fine. I wish I had hot glue. I'm all out. Oh, that's actually relevant. They're actually about the same height. Cool. All right. Well, I'm probably just going to 3D print something for this then. A nice little bottom for it. I figured out how to get the outlines, the board cut zones exported and then imported into a system, so I don't have to recreate the vector geometry, the shape of the whole thing. It was very hacky, and this is a much better way of doing it. Still haven't gotten one of these set up yet. The latest version of the Vexus board. Pretty proud of it. Pride comes before the fall. Alright. Fall, it's winter. Alright. No, we're just making dumb jokes now. Okay. Goodbye soon. I guess. I'll see you all tomorrow. Hey. Dejan, I don't know quite how to say your name, but I do remember talking to you. So many cool people you get to meet doing this. And weird names that Americans are bad at pronouncing. These are, so recap the stream. This is MikeMike. These were assembled off these PCBs that I designed and received today. And I'll get to program these and show off how MikeMike works tomorrow morning at a hot new stream that everyone's talking about. Everyone's going to be there, especially Elon Musk and at Behar or something. I don't know. I just need sleep now. Hopefully I've assembled these correctly and not messed up due to lack of sleep. But we'll find out tomorrow. Tune in next week. And this is just getting worse. I just have to hang up now. Okay. 2 hours. 2 hours, 26 seconds. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm tired. All right. Love y'all. See ya. Day Young. Keyboard still working full stream. Full steam. Yeah. Very good. All right. I'll catch you all tomorrow. It's probably going to be like 5 or 6 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be possibly awake during that time. I'll see you all.